when I'm not living across the street from the hospital at work, I have a small place in Baden, Pennsylvania, in Beaver County, adjacent to the Sisters of St. Joseph, their mother house. And the other day I was taking a walk, and I was along the Stations of the Cross, and a lady was walking her dog. And she said, "Father, I have something to tell you. My neighbor just died yesterday. He was such a good man. He was the head of the HOA, community-minded. Every holiday, he and his wife opened their door of their house. Whether Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, everybody was welcome at every holiday, and they provided everything. But as you know, the last few years he struggled with his dialysis, and his kidneys failed him, and he died yesterday." And then she went on and on and on about some of the other woes. And as I listened to her, she concluded by saying, "Father, maybe our prayer should be, Lord, move us in the right direction." And I said to her, "Do you mind if I use that for my homily this weekend? Lord, move us in the right direction." We've all had enough. When we said at wit's end, "I can't take it anymore. I'm at the end of my rope. Trials and grief, sickness and disappointment. They can rob us all of hope on any given day. Perhaps sometimes things become so horrible, we want to say, just with Elijah, we want to die." Most of us don't intend that metaphorically. Most of us say it, but only mean it metaphorically. But Elijah, when he said it, he meant it literally. Fleeing for his life, reaching a breaking point, he finally offers a prayer of desperation to the Lord. "This is enough, O Lord. Take my life. I know better than my fathers." How can this great champion of Yahweh, one of the greatest of the Old Testament prophets in the history of Israel, who is to usher in the Messianic era, be brought so low? Elijah had a fierce war against idolatry in his time. He had just defeated the priest of Baal in a great contest. And he thought all of Israel would return to the covenant. But they were a fickle people who abandoned him. He was tired and sick and discouraged, depressed, afraid, and tempted to despair of God's own promises. He's on the run from wicked Queen Jezebel, ready to a throw in the towel and abandon his mission. And he flirted with the idea of running away from life. Sometimes we too face hard times in our life. We too want to run away. We run from spouse to spouse, job to job, city to city, house to house, friend to friend, unconsciously trying to seek a problem-free solution. But our restless changing indicates we're running away from ourselves. We will never find ourselves in this life if we're on the run all the time. It's only when we stop. When Elijah hit rock bottom as God's messenger, God sends a messenger through an angel to give him food and water to continue his journey. Maybe that's why the mystics said that life on earth is like being in a bad motel overnight. We're not supposed to be here forever. As bad as it gets, as painful, as dark as it is, We're not supposed to be on earth forever. Elijah immediately, he gets up, he takes the nourishment, he continues on the sojourn as the Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert. Elijah would take 40 days until he met at the Mount of Horeb God. And there he was fed. And he learned a great lesson that God's ways are ways of nonviolence. Elijah does not find the Holy One in a violent wind or an earthquake or in the fire. He finds God in silence. And God instructs him to anoint others with consecration and healing. The Elijah story is that God provides energy and direction to his life. A life that had been weakened and discouraged. He needed new direction and a new purpose. Don't we all need that? A new direction and new purpose? Do we want the Lord to take us in the right direction? Or do we want to follow our own selfish ways? We come today to the Eucharist because God provides for us vitality and meaning in our weakness and our fears. He cares for each of us. Through prayer and religion, they are not meant to escape, to run away from the world, but rather help us face the world each day. In our daily journey, in our search for God, in our efforts to live the life to be a Christian, we must return again and again to prayer, to the sacraments, to give us strength. The Christian life is not about evasions, escapisms, soft options, or comforts. Rather, it's the very opposite. The God who loves us expects the best of us, nothing less. Throughout the Bible, bread in the Old Testament represented divine instruction. Jesus quotes Isaiah today and says, they all shall be taught by God. Is God teaching you now? Is faith in his Son Jesus a divine gift that you help bestow on the world in a world so faithless? Like Elijah, we sit under our own broom trees. We think and we contemplate and we say, this is enough, Lord. I can't take it any longer. And then God sends angels into our lives who have heart cake and water. And we go back to the mission that God wants us to fulfill. The Lord feeds us in the Eucharist today, and he commands us to go out into the world to fulfill our mission that God has entrusted to us. Oh, the world is in a bad motel overnight. Let's face it, that's the reality. It has always been and always will. But this bad motel, the mystics tell us, is not where we'll live forever. That's why we come tonight to the Eucharist. For the challenges of life, the obstacles in life, the things that weigh us down. We're nourished by the bread of life. We're enlivened to be the mercy of God to our world. And of the love that we receive here, we can never get enough. And so may our prayer tonight be at this Eucharist, Lord, grant me the gift of awe, wonder, and amazement, that the gift you give to me, so that I may be nourished and strengthened to live the Christian life you call me